In a corner of vast lands, where every inch of soil generously rewarded the diligent, lived a venerable old man. His days were spent caring for the land he cultivated with immeasurable devotion. One day, with a special hope in his heart, he decided to plant something truly unique, what seemed like an ordinary turnip. He carefully prepared the garden bed, filling it with fertile soil, and with faith in a bountiful harvest, he dropped a tiny seed into it, anticipating the future fruit of his labor. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Nurtured by the gentle sunbeams and life-giving moisture, the turnip began to grow. It grew tirelessly, surpassing all conceivable limits, transforming from a simple root vegetable into something truly grand, a veritable giant. Its mighty leaves spread out like enormous emerald sails, casting an impressive shadow over the entire garden. Finally, harvest time arrived, and the old man, full of anticipation, approached his magnificent creation. He grasped the gigantic root vegetable, bracing himself for the usual effort. To his astonishment, however, despite all his considerable strength and determination, the colossal turnip remained unmoving, as if it were an ancient boulder rooted in the earth. He pulled and strained, but the ground held its treasure fast, unwilling to release it to a single man. It became clear that the old man's strength alone would not suffice for such a task. With a slight sigh, yet without losing hope, he called for his faithful life companion, his wise and kind old woman, who had always been his rock and support. She immediately responded to his call, joining him in this extraordinary endeavor. Together, they gripped the unyielding vegetable, focusing all their combined might on extracting it. The old man pulled, and the old woman pulled, their muscles strained, their breathing grew ragged. The earth groaned softly, but the turnip held firm. It became clear that this was not merely a harvest, but a true test of endurance. The unyielding root continued to resist, and it became evident that even the combined efforts of two people were insufficient. Then, the old woman turned to her granddaughter, young and full of energy, who was always ready to lend a hand. The girl, with readiness and enthusiasm, took her place in this living chain. Now, 3 generations stood shoulder to shoulder, their collective will directed against the unyielding earth. The granddaughter pulled, the old woman pulled, and the old man pulled. Tension hung in the air, their strenuous efforts audible in every breath, yet the enormous turnip remained firmly rooted. It seemed an insurmountable obstacle, a challenge that tested the limits of their collective strength. Despite growing frustration, their fighting spirit did not wane. This task, now a shared undertaking, could not be abandoned halfway. The granddaughter, struck by a sudden thought, called for their devoted 4-legged friend, a lively dog known for its boundless loyalty. The dog, sensing the urgency in his young mistress's voice, readily took his place in the ever-lengthening chain. The dog pulled, the granddaughter pulled, the old woman pulled, and the old man pulled. Every muscle strained, every breath was an effort. Yet, even now, the massive root remained motionless, a silent testament to its extraordinary size and the depth of its roots. The situation seemed critical. 5 beings, united by a single goal, exerted all their strength, but the colossal turnip stubbornly resisted. Hope began to wane, replaced by a growing awe for the incredible resilience of this vegetable. In a moment of quiet desperation, the loyal dog, eyes fixed on the unyielding root, let out a soft whimper, a plea that was answered by the silent appearance of a graceful, nimble cat. The cat, with an almost imperceptible movement, took her place, adding her small but significant weight to the chain. The cat pulled, the dog pulled, the granddaughter pulled, the old woman pulled, and the old man pulled. A collective groan of effort filled the air, but the turnip still clung to the earth. And then, just when it seemed all was lost, when their last reserves of strength were ebbing, a tiny, almost unnoticeable creature emerged from the shadows, a small, unassuming mouse. It nimbly took its position, seemingly an insignificant addition to the mighty chain. Yet, at that very moment, something shifted. The mouse pulled, the cat pulled, the dog pulled, the granddaughter pulled, the old woman pulled, and the old man pulled. And then, with a sudden, triumphant yank, accompanied by a collective gasp of astonishment and relief, the truly gigantic turnip finally gave way. It burst from the earth, revealing its full, magnificent glory, a living testament to the power of unwavering persistence and the unexpected strength hidden in unity, even when contributed by the smallest participant. Once, an old man planted a turnip seed in his garden. Over time, this plant grew to truly colossal proportions, transforming into a veritable giant turnip. When it was time to harvest, the old man attempted to pull the root vegetable from the ground. He exerted significant effort, straining with all his might, but despite all his attempts, the gigantic turnip remained unmoving. Realizing he couldn't manage alone, he called for help from his wife, the old woman, asking her to join him in this difficult task. Together, the old man and old woman grasped the turnip, trying to pull it from the soil in unison. However, despite their combined and persistent efforts, the root vegetable still wouldn't budge. Faced with an insurmountable obstacle, the old woman, in turn, called for her granddaughter, inviting her to join their collective efforts. Now, 3 of them, the old man, the old woman, and the granddaughter, united their strengths, grasping the enormous root. They pulled and strained with all their might, but even with 3, they couldn't pull the turnip from the ground. Understanding that their strength was still insufficient, the granddaughter decided to call for their pet dog, Zuchka, for help. Now, 4 were involved, the old man, the old woman, the granddaughter, and Zuchka. They tensed all their muscles, trying to budge the turnip, but it still sat firmly in the earth. Then, Zuchka, realizing the need to further increase the team, brought the cat into the process. 5 of them, the old man, the old woman, the granddaughter, Zuchka, and the cat, continued their exhausting attempts, but the turnip remained unyielding. At this critical moment, the cat, not losing hope, called for the smallest participant, the mouse, to help. And so, finally, the entire team, the old man, the old woman, the granddaughter, Zuchka, the cat, and the mouse, united their efforts. With one last collective pull, straining every ounce of their strength, they finally managed to pull the enormous turnip from the ground. It was precisely thanks to the combined actions of all participants that this colossal root vegetable was successfully extracted. This incident clearly demonstrates that when people, and even animals, unite their efforts and offer mutual assistance, even the most complex and seemingly impossible tasks become surmountable. The key elements of success in any endeavor are cohesion, strong friendship, and unwavering mutual support. It is in this collective spirit that true, unyielding strength lies.